Okay, welcome everyone. Today we are talking about Google local service ads. We are not going to do a death by PowerPoint today. I'm so sorry to disappoint you. These are literally Cisco's live Google local service ads. And so he is being very kind. We appreciate you, Cisco, for letting us do this, but this is live and on display in Allen, Texas. And Cisco has been so gracious as to basically invite you into his business and take a look around. And so we really appreciate him letting us do that. And so I'm just going to walk you through page by page. If you don't have access to your Google ads or your Google local service ads, either one, reach out to Alyssa or Gab and they can send you a direct link and can help you to just open this up. Once you do, then this is exactly what you do once you get in there. So you'll see that he has spent $1,713.98 in the last month. And if you do the math, then that boils down to $28.55 per lead. Now, some of you it's less expensive, and some of you it's more expensive. But one of our competitors that I just did a Gemini search on said that these leads go between 40 and 60. And so he's doing, by industry standard, he's doing very well. He's paying at least 25% less than what other people are. And that makes me feel good because that means we're doing what we're supposed to do as a marketing agency. But if you're ever saying, Sam, where are you getting the cost per lead? This is 100% where I'm getting it. I'm taking that $1,700, dividing it by 60, and that gives you your number. Now you can choose to either have your messaging on or off. Some people just don't want to be bothered with messages, and so they just leave that off. But some people, and I'm glad that we have this particular client on today, but some people they don't they can't talk to people. And so they want to only message people. We had someone about a year ago that came into this particular shop and had transmission issues and bought a new transmission without ever looking up. They never actually looked the person in the eye that they were buying it from. It was like $4,500 that they spent, but never looked up. And so some people, they just have a difficult time looking you in the eye. And I know that a lot of people on here say, how could you do that? But not everybody is built the same. Not everyone's wired the same. And so understand that messaging is actually, it can be a very powerful thing, especially on social media. People come home 9, 10 o'clock at night, they're on their social media, they see your ad come up and they want to message you instead of call you. Some of you, we have mentioned that you really should have messaging on for that, and some of you don't want to deal with it. But understand that on your meta ads, for instance, they are twice as effective. And I use that number because we have numbers to back that up. They're twice as effective as if you can do messaging and you add that feature to it. So I did want to point that out, but I know that today we're talking about Google local service ads, but with messaging, you see he got 58 phone calls and 2 messages. So it's not the same as what your meta would be, but some of those numbers might change for one of the reasons we only run his ads during business hours because that is your highest close ratio. And so as we come down here, I'm going to explain this just piece by piece. And so if you miss something, you can go back in the recording and replay it. But for absolute top impressions, I'll just go ahead and explain what this is. Absolute top impressions is when he came up before anything that's not boosted is. And 99.28% for his top impression rate search, that is anywhere in that stack. So right here, he's the very first one that came up. He's guaranteed to be the very first one that comes up. This one, you're somewhere in sponsored, but you still have your Google certified or Google verified tag and all that kind of fun stuff. But So with these ads, almost 100% of them came up before anything organic is what it's saying, but 49%, he was the very first one that came up. His ad impressions, this is a good metric to know, but you are not charged for ad impressions. You are charged per lead. That is what makes this very different, is you're only paying for qualified leads. And so you can look on the different days, which ones he came in. So he had 4 qualified leads on February 17th. And so it is very specific. We know that he either got a phone call or a message, and we have recordings of all those. Here's a table that you can look at just for a different view of this exact same information. And when we have snow days and things like that, that's the reason that I like this. I like to isolate it per day so that I can see especially trends, because some clients will see on Mondays they only get 1 lead, but then coming in here on Tuesday, Wednesday, see the middle of his week is strong, and so we want to make sure that he has budget for those other days. So if he ever texts me and says I'm slow on a Wednesday, that means his budget is spent. And so that's just one of the indicators that we can glean from that. And so right here, you can change your views. I like to look at the last 30 days. And as you come in here, here's your menu bar. I'm an agency, so it looks a little bit different to me. It says live accounts and managed accounts. And so yours will just have your account. And then if you've had one maybe in the past that's turned off or something like that, that might show up, but this will show if it's working or not. And that's the important thing there, is if you click through there and it'll just say if it's active or not. And then as you come down here, you're going to see manager notifications. If you have something in red there, please click on it and look at it. If it's been disabled, if it's been disapproved, if you need a document, those kinds of things will come through your notifications and alerts. And I'm not going to open this up because this has alerts for all of our clients. And so Cisco doesn't have 17 alerts, but ellven does. And so that's what this is all about. Your business verification, he has already been through everything. And so with your business verification, it says that he's completed on all of his background check, his billing information. Google really does get in your business with Google local service ads, but you see everything's complete, and congratulations, you're now certified or verified, excuse me. If it doesn't say this, then there's something over here that is missing and that needs to get taken care of. But you can't, they do have a phone number here and an email, but if we are your agency, I know that I did open this up to folks that are not clients as well today. But if we're your agency, we can take care of this for you. You never have to call Google. Just get a hold of your rep and we'll take care of it. And as you're coming down here, leads is a very important page for you. Okay, they're just reminding you that your Google badge has changed, which is fine. Everyone's is changing. It's not something you need to let us know about. But as you look, here's your phone number that it came from. And I want people to understand. So McKinney, he's not marketing in McKinney, but this caller was from McKinney. So when this caller saw his ad, they would have been within the bounds of that he's marketing in, and we'll go over that in just a minute. So as you see, McKinney, Richardson, Garland, these people may very well work in his area that he's marketing in, but they were in that proximity or vicinity whenever they saw his ad. And these were just 224. So these 3 are from this morning already, and they're under review. So now Google has an AI review and we have manual reviews. So for all of our dominance package people, we review these once a month or even once a week, depending. Once a month is enough, in my opinion, because you just want to make sure that you don't pay for Google ads and calls that don't have anything to do with your business. So for instance, we have a transmission shop on here, and if it said brake repair, we'll click on it, listen to it, and say, nope, this was for brake repair. They don't sell brake repair. And so they don't have to pay for it. It was something that it didn't have anything to do with their business. And so these that are in review, it'll show that for about the first 2 days, but Google is just kind of behind on their reviews. And so that's all that that means. So now when you click on this in review car maintenance, I'll just click on a random one. So this caller was from Rowlett. And you can actually pop your customer name in here. Some of you have asked, well, how do I track and see if these people actually made a sale? You can come in here and just jot their name down and make some notes. So for instance, if I come in here and do the audit, I will say, Sam listened to, and then I'll say it's a good call, or this, they gave pricing over the phone, or some sort of a no-no. Or they didn't sell over the curb, those kinds of things. I'll just take notes right here. And then you can actually add your customer email as well, so you can track them. So down here, your show recording, some of you have asked, how do I listen to these? You just have to click on show recording, and you can go ahead and listen to it. And you can hear how your counter help had answered the call. And once again, you still have access to your notes. You can just take notes for quality control. There will be something that appears here once it's no longer in review, and you can rate it, and that is where you can dispute the call. And so I'm going to come in here. So this one's from Plano. You see that it's been charged, and if we click on that one, you see it says rate this lead. This is where you can come through and dispute. So say you listen to this recording, it's 1 minute and 36 seconds. So that tells me it was probably a legitimate call because of the call duration. But if it wasn't, say it's only like 20 seconds and they were just thinking that you were someone else, then you can come in and click on rate this lead. And you can say you're dissatisfied with it and then click next. We're not going to do that because that would be tampering with it. But this is where you can come in and say, look, I wasn't satisfied with it. And Google will say, okay, we'll take that off. And so that is where you do that. Okay, and so that's pretty self-explanatory now that you've seen that. Your policy manager, if you have something that comes up and they say, we're not going to run your ads because of a policy violation, that is what you click to deal with that. You don't ever have to look at that unless your Google ads have stopped for a policy violation. If your credit card isn't working, or if you have an ad that actually has words in it, they no longer allow you to have text in the images of your ads. Different things like that can be policy violations. And so we can come in and deal with that. If you're an ellven client, you just tell us and we'll take care of it. You don't have to take care of it, but we do. And so Cisco won't have anything. It'll just say he's clean, so we're not going to pull that up. And then there's your reports page. And I apologize for the lag in here, but it's not the fastest, but we just showed you the reports page. Billing will be dealt with in your Google Ads dashboard. So if you click here, it'll just say you don't have to look at it here. You have to go to your Google Ads dashboard. This is one other view that I feel is important, your profile and your budget. It shows that he's verified. And none of this would be working. I don't know why it shows that, because none of this would be working if he wasn't verified, but it is. And it shows the phone number that's associated with it. And I do want to point out that Google is pulling some information from other sources, local citations and such like that, like a YP or dex.com. And sometimes they will go in and change your phone number randomly. We check it at a very, very minimum. We check this once a month to make sure that your phone number is correct when we do our in-depth audit. But if you ever pull this up and notice that your phone number is off, please let us know. We'll get it changed. There's your website. As you come down here to your bidding strategy and such, when you change your bidding strategy, you can do it either automated, or you can just say, I don't want to pay any more than X per lead. And so if you get into a very competitive market, then you'd want to do something like that. Cisco doesn't have a lot of competition in this area that he has chosen to advertise in with his Google local service ads. And so automated is just fine for him. If you get up into the $40 range, then we're going to come down here to manual bidding, and we really have to slice and dice it from there. His average weekly budget, we just raised in a meeting. And so he didn't pay $420 for 15 leads. We just barely raised this. And so these numbers are going to change, but we already went over how you come up with what he's paying for different things. These are the job types that he is allowing for Google service, local service ads to market to: brake jobs, car maintenance, electrical system repair, engine repair, exhaust system repair, and transmission repair. And so, for instance, if you're just a transmission shop, you might have this and maybe engine repair, because some people think that transmission problems are engine problems or vice versa. And so we can toggle these on or off. But he wants all of that work. And this is where you would edit your budget. If you wanted to change any of these, you can either click here or you can go to edit your budget there. When you click on edit your budget, it will give you some recommendations. And so if I click on 504, for instance, then it'll tell me how many more leads that it thinks that I can get. If I up my budget, and it says you could. Could is a very important word here. It's not guaranteeing that you're going to get 28 more leads, but it says, based on your historical data, this is how many more leads we think that you could get if you're spending $504 a week or $2,189 a month with us. Then you'll get 28 leads per week for that. So he would basically get 110 leads. I don't know, my math isn't great, but at any rate, he'd basically get 110 leads a month for $2,000 is what that boils down to. I hope that makes sense to everyone. And so it gives you a forecast, but if you're in here and you have a snowstorm, that's going to change those numbers. If you have a competitor that moves in and starts buying up some of these leads, that number might go up. And so that's why it says you could. It doesn't know in the future, but it's AI's best guess based on your history. Photos. See, we love these photos. Cisco and his wife really are this lovable. And so it's important that you have pictures on here so that people can have an emotional buy-in. And auto repair literally is an emotional purchase because, well, for most people. So if they have a piece of junk car that they're driving, it might be on its last leg. It might be all that they have. So it's an emotion of, I better pick the right one, because if I pick the wrong one, then I'm out of transportation. Then you have other people that are driving their dream car and they want to find somebody that can work on that, take good care of it because it's their baby. So it's important that we have a face in here or somebody that they trust. Also, you want to see vehicles in here that are similar to what they would be driving. Like, kind, and quality is what the insurance industry calls it, and they're right. So if you want to work on trucks, have trucks in here. If you want to just work on transmissions, only have transmissions in here. Well, have a transmission in here, but also show them the workplace in which it will be worked on. This is the only time that we use stock photos is if we don't have them of the shop. So please take pictures of your shop and of your people. And so that is what is recommended there. As you coming over here, you want to check your email, make sure that your email is correct. If you have this checked. If you don't have it checked, then it won't email you and it's inconsequential. But texting, you want to make sure that this is the number that you want it to go to. If people are texting in, those are your leads. And so here's your business hours that you can set. And here are the areas that you service. This is very important. So we have a particular client that basically, and they're going to dictate that this area comes all as one piece when you type in Allen. And then say, for instance, you want to work up here by Bonnie Park. Bonnie Went Park is a park, but it's not a town. So you could type that in. You're probably not going to have anything come up. But if you want to work in McKinney, then you can see what that is going to entail. And so that would be that area. You might not want certain areas. And so you're going to be like, no, I don't want that. And so you're going to come in here and pick and choose what areas, but you can also exclude these service areas. For instance, I have some West Side towns like Magna in the area that I am that I would exclude. Different places that you don't want to do business. You can put those in. Some of them, it says neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods are recognized, some are not. So don't get frustrated with that. And sometimes you just have to, Google says, this is your deal. This is as specific as we're going to get. And sometimes you just have to deal with that. So does anybody have any questions or comments on Google local service ads?
Yeah, I got a quick question. So when it comes to selecting the keywords, how do we know which ones are good, which ones are bad?
So those are done in your Google ads. So
Okay, so it's not an LSA.
not specifically. So there was a client that we worked with late last week, and they were getting some clients that they called crappy clients.
Hmm.
And so if you go through words that are associated with crappy clients, like search terms like cheap oil change, those are some of the ones that you want to add a negative keyword to because you don't want that client. If you don't want tire repairs, that is one thing that a crappy client would do. Used tires or another thing that a quote, and I'm quoting her on what she called them, but some of those less desirable clients, they're associated with some of those keywords. And so that's the best way that you can decide what clientele you want is going through your keywords there. Greg, for instance, had hit me up this morning. He said, "Hey, we're getting calls from people thinking that we are our competitors." And so we went through and made sure that their negative keywords were added for their competitors' names. And they are for their Google ads, but they're just Greg is coming up first in his organic search. So sometimes someone will type in another shop and he just comes up first. And so he's not paying for that lead. But if you are getting calls for your competitors, especially, let us know so that we can weed those out. But we can go through your keywords together and make sure that we're targeting the people that you want. Cisco, for instance, I know that you have Mercedes repair on there. I know that you have about 250 keywords associated around the kind of cars that we want. And so we can go through that list together and do that. But that is done in your Google ads, not your Google local service ads.
Okay.
So any other questions? So you may be wondering why, and Cisco asked this. I hope you don't mind me saying, but he said, why does Google have two different product lines? And that is that is an interesting question. We have what they've told us in public. So they said that they're basically trying to clean up Google Ads and make sure that when someone clicks on an ad, then their promise is fulfilled. So that you are keeping the promise that you're making on your Google business page and in your ad, they're trying to make sure that you're a legitimate custom company. And that's why they look through your background check and all that kind of fun stuff. That is what they told us. Now, whatever their ulterior motives are, we don't know, but that is what they gave us there. I do know that bang for your buck, Google local service ads has more accountability because you can literally go in and either look at the message, the email, or listen to the phone call. We have never had that level of accountability with Google before. And so, say we have a supercharger IO that's bringing in leads for $10. We don't get to listen to that phone call. We don't get to read the message. We don't get to verify that they clicked for directions. Google tells us that they did, but we don't have the same amount of proof as we do with a Google local service ad. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. And in some areas, we are getting Google local service ads at $10 each. So just keep at it. And Google does play favorites. They say that they don't, but they do. We've seen it through A/B testing to where if the more you spend with Google local service ads, we have seen the more preference that Google gives you. So I know that they say that they don't, but they do. So If are there any other questions or comments on Google local service ads? Okay. So if you do come up with any, hit your rep up, hit me up, and we can go through it in greater detail. But they do go hand in hand with your Google ads. But we're seeing bang for your buck. Google local service ads are performing better and they are more reliable than what your other Google ads are. So at any rate, we'll go ahead and close up. But if you haven't talked to me in a month, if we haven't had a one-on-one or a two-on-one, please hit me up and we'll get that scheduled. And so in the meantime, everybody, love you all. We appreciate you. You're the best shops that we know, and we love telling your stories. And I did want to share one win. There was a particular referral that came into us in November, and I'm not going to use the name for obvious reasons, but in our call, he said, if you don't turn this shop around in 30 days, we have to close our doors. We have no other alternative. And we obviously didn't charge him. We didn't charge him for 90 days actually, so that he could have money to put back in his business. But he had his record month last month. And so I just, I'm addicted. I love this industry. I love what we do. And thank you very much. We did leverage some of you to give him some additional coaching. And so some of that came from the Aaron Stokes group and Shop Fix. And we turned his business around. And to watch this particular guy cry, you would have never thought that he would, but he did. So I am sharing that win because, hey, we love what we do. We're excited about the momentum that's here, and we trust and appreciate everyone that we're working with. So thank you so much, everyone.